Animal Crossing New Horizons is taking over the internet, with the world under indefinite quarantine and blessed with insane amounts of free time. So much so that there is now a global shortage of Nintendo Switches. I, for one, am enjoying living vicariously through my villagers. Who needs to catch up with friends in real life? I've got lucky. Even if, after about 30 seconds, he starts hinting that he's seen enough of me and refuses to wear any of the clothes I give him for more than a day. But I mean, aim low. After a few weeks of waiting for people to get far enough into New Horizons, we're now seeing people's hibernation creations appearing all over the internet. Making these towns is one thing, terraforming the island to your heart's content, but all of these renovations require a solution to new players' biggest problem: bells. The easy answer, available in all Animal Crossing games so far, is the famous Stork Market. Animal Crossing's weekly, 6-day, child-friendly stock market which follows one of 4 patterns each week. You'll purchase turnips on a Sunday morning and then have the next week to sell them at a variety of prices. Time travelling, of course, makes this process significantly faster, as it does with any money-making method, but even if you don't time travel, you should be making sure you're on the hunt for turnips every Sunday morning and getting yourself familiar with the possible price patterns. Now, I know a lot of people are intimidated by turnips, but please know the patterns are forgivable enough to almost guarantee you will have made some good money. The exact money per hour depends greatly on how you're playing. You can definitely make millions, tens of millions per week of turnip trading, depending on your luck and your initial investment. But if you combine that with time traveling, you can easily get through each week in about 30-45 minutes of real life time. After Nook's Cranny opens on any Sunday morning, you'll see Daisy May walking around selling stocks or turnips. She'll arrive at 5 AM in your village and remain selling turnips until about midday. Turnips are sold in lots of 10, which will stack up to 100 turnips per inventory slot. This means you can hold 4,000 turnips if you have maximum inventory space and a budget that permits. As you start to understand what you're doing with turnips, you want to be investing as much as you feel safe doing. Turnips can be placed anywhere on your island or in your house, but cannot be put in your house storage. Considering I'm always time travelling if I'm doing turnips, I will always just place the turnips outside Nook's shop. You might prefer to leave them on the ground by Daisy, or if you don't time travel, maybe burying them underground or placing them in an unused corner of your island might be the best solution. Once you've bought and placed all your turnips where you want them, you're all done for Sunday. Each day of the week from Monday to Saturday, you'll be able to visit Timmy and Tommy at your store and ask them for their turnip prices. I'd recommend moving your store close to your house if it isn't already, especially if you're time travelling, as walking less each day will add up really fast. So prices the boys will offer you can vary greatly, but they will follow consistent patterns, which makes this process much easier. The price will change at midday each day, giving you 2 prices per day from Monday through to Saturday. 6 days, giving you 12 total prices or time periods for that week. It's very important that you check the prices in every time period you possibly can, so that you'll be able to follow the pattern and see any large prices coming. If you do miss a day, do not time travel backwards to check, not even a minute. All of the turnips on your island will immediately spoil. Now on this subject, even though everyone's afraid of turnips spoiling, if you are comfortable time travelling, please know your turnips will not be affected if you move forward. Turnips will only last until the next Sunday regardless, forcing you to sell within the 12 time periods. Moving forward throughout these days is safe. I time travel for turnips when I need money, and it will very regularly see you making between 2 and 20 million bells per hour depending on your patterns and how much you put in. It is possible to make much more than that with no risk at all if you have a friend on board, but I'll explain that at the end of the video. Now, I've seen a lot of conflicting information coming up in the past week as all these sites are releasing their own turnip guides, but what I'm going to explain is a much simpler approach that has worked perfectly for me so far. So, the basics on patterns. There are 4 possible patterns: random, constantly decreasing, small spike and large spike. Random is self-explanatory. Prices will go up, down without following a pattern. If throughout the first 4 time periods on a Monday and Tuesday, you see the price go up, down, up again, you already know that your price is random. In the case of a random pattern, you just want to sell when you're at a profit. Anything above what you purchased them for is good. Don't shoot for the stars here, take anything above 120, 130 bells per turnip. It can still net you a nice 20-30% profit on whatever you put in. You will not see high prices like in the spikes in a random week. So random, cash out as soon as you can, week's done. All of the other patterns will begin with a slow decrease. The constantly decreasing pattern will do just that. Constantly decrease throughout the week without ever rising. The two patterns we want though, the small spike and large spike, will start by decreasing in the exact same way. Therefore, for the first few time periods of the week, we're expecting and hoping to see the price steadily decrease by about 1 to 6 bells per day. This is good news. Now, what's different about the small and large spike is that for 3 time periods out of the 12, the price of turnips will suddenly spike up and immediately fall back down. In both small and large spikes, the spike will last for 3 consecutive days, with the third price being the highest price you will get for that week. In a small spike, you might see turnips go up to about 170 bells per turnip, which still might almost double your money. In a large spike though, prices will top out at about 400 to 800 bells, meaning as soon as you hit one of these weeks, you'll be able to exponentially grow your bank. You'll know if it's constantly decreasing by the Friday PM time period. If the price still hasn't risen by then, there isn't enough time left in the week for it to occur. It's a constantly decreasing week. Cash out. Now, this may seem like a lot of information, but all we're doing is buying turnips on a Sunday. Then we start watching the price. We want to see it steadily decrease. If it doesn't, and it's random, we look for any price above 120 and disregard that week. If it is steadily decreasing, as it usually will, we watch every day for each time period, checking Monday AM, Monday PM, Tuesday AM, Tuesday PM, hoping that by Friday afternoon, we will see one price go up from the last. If any rise happens, we know that a spike is now happening. We also know that a spike is going to hit its maximum on the 3rd rise in a row. At this point, we know we sell. After doing this a few times, you will have more bells than you know what to do. To summarise again, if you get a random pattern, sell anywhere above 120. If you get a constantly decreasing pattern, hope it's going to turn into a spike, and you know it isn't going to be a spike if it's the Friday PM time slot. If it's Friday PM and they still haven't risen, just get rid of them, it's not going to spike. If you do start to see a spike happen, wait until the 3rd day to sell. You'll see whether it's a small or large spike purely from how big the amount gets. The only difference for people from here will be whether or not you choose to time travel. Now, I know there's a bit of contention around the ethics of time travelling on Reddit and some areas of the fandom. Play however you want on your own game. If you're not going to time travel, literally just follow the advice from this video and you will be fine. If you do want to speed up the clock and get through a week or two of turnip trading in an hour of real time, or if you want to see how much you can make if you get a friend involved, keep watching. The main thing you got to remember with time travelling and turnips is that you can only go forward in time. If you go back at all, your turnips will spoil. I had an unfortunate incident on one of my first weeks doing turnips when I was at the end of the month. Changed my clock from March 31st to March 1st, but forgot to change April. I had to sell about 200 stacks of rotted turnips and start almost all over again. If you're time travelling, leave a little bit of money aside if you can. Every day, you'll be going in at 11 AM, checking the price. Changing the clock forward 1 hour, checking the price. Changing the clock forward a day, back an hour, check the price. Forward an hour, check the price. Forward a day, back an hour, check the price. Forward an hour, check the price, etc, 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 etc. Really important here as well, just focus on the screen when you're changing the time. It's really easy to watch a movie or TV show in the background while you're doing this, but just make sure when you change the time, you're focusing. It's the one time you can make a real mistake that costs you. You might also notice that I am not saving in between checking the prices. I believe it is a waste of time. Unless there's something in the Nook store that you want to buy, then save it so you get to keep that item. It's just adding extra risk. If you do make a mistake and go back an hour instead of going forward a day, if you haven't saved the game for a few days, there's a chance that your turnips will still be okay. It's not guaranteed, but it's a little bit of extra security in the case of a small mistake. You'll see that I just close the game as soon as I see the price, go straight to the system clock, reopen the game and repeat. As soon as you find the spike, make sure you sell on the third sequential rise. That will be the highest and then you're done for the week. If you go back to the start of the week, it won't be the exact same prices again, so feel free to time travel back, forward, whichever Sunday you want to do. Keep an eye out for meteor shower announcements or anything else interesting from Isabel that you might want to remember. Meteor shower dates will stay consistent in your game, so even if you don't want to do it while you're doing turnips, make sure you write it down for later. Now, if you have a friend and want to make real money, there is an even better way to do this, with much less risk and much more profit. The only difficult thing here is that you do need a friend who you trust. Very simply, without buying turnips, go start looking through random weeks, checking the prices, looking for a spike. You aren't holding turnips, so there's no risk to just jumping around and finding a good price. The only thing to know is that if you move backwards within the same week, you may reset the price pattern for that week. Stop when you find a price of about 500-600 higher. Hopefully your friend will be looking at the same time, making it even faster to find a bigger spike. As soon as one of you does find a price, they stay on that day. The friend then moves back to a Sunday morning. Now one friend is in a village who is buying turnips for a very high price, and the other friend has a village where Daisy is selling turnips. Taking turns for maybe half hour, an hour at a time each, you will travel to each other's islands, buying turnips from Daisy, going back and selling it at the other island. If you get quick at this, you can do each trip in about 3 or 4 minutes, and as you can see in this, I was making about 2 million bells per run. Did it for about an hour and a half this time, got almost up to 50 million. Obviously that is only the time it took for me to do it. I then left my switch on for my friend so that she could do it as well. Makes it a bit easier if you know the person quite well and you can actually talk to them about what you're doing. We were only selling at a price of about 590, so you can get much more than this if you get an even higher price. So that is about everything for the basics of turnips, the 4 patterns and when to sell. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'm happy to answer anything. Obviously, if you partake in turnip trading, it is at your own risk. Do a practice one with a bit less money until you're confident. If you have any other questions about New Horizons, like how to find the Zodiac furniture or other Celeste DIYs, terraforming, trading and cataloguing items in different shades, just chuck them down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and I will catch you very soon.